Hey there, folks. Welcome to today's episode of the Strategy and Leadership Podcast. My guest today is Kerry Siggins, who is the CEO of StoneAge and the author of The Ownership Mindset. Kerry, how's it going today?
It's going great. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm excited to chat with you. We've been chatting for the past couple months, or in connection for the past couple months. I'm excited to hear about your journey. I'm excited to hear about your book. I will obviously ask you about, the work that you've done transforming your organization into an employee-owned company. I don't want to spill the beans too much on who you are and what you do. So do you want to get us going and tell our listeners a little bit more about who Kerry Siggins is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I live in Durango, Colorado. My company makes industrial cleaning equipment. So think high-tech squirt guns on steroids. People often ask me, how did you get into this business? And I was like, by accident. I don't know if anybody gets into industrial cleaning on purpose unless it's, passed on from generation to generation. But that was not my case. I moved to Durango about 17 years ago because my life was a complete wreck and I needed to come home to my mom to get my life back together. And StoneAge was looking for a general manager. And even though I was not qualified at all for the position, I had an engineering degree, a business degree, had been working in manufacturing operations. So I decided to bet on myself and apply for the job, and I got it. And so I have been on this leadership journey ever since. And leadership is my favorite thing. That's why I wrote the book. My husband's an entrepreneur, so I help him. He has a separate business as well. And then I have a son that is being groomed. 11-year-old son is being groomed to be like the future leader of businesses or medicine or whatever he decides to do in his life. So that's a little bit about me.
Sweet. The conversation I'm having after this is about family and succession planning for businesses. So I'll send you that one, and then you can.
I'd love that. Yes.
11-year-old into there. But
well, it's really funny. We don't at StoneAge. We're employee owned, and we have a no nepotism policy, at least for executives. You can't have anybody related to you in the company. It was a super smart idea. People should do that. My husband's business, much smaller than StoneAge. And it's a millworks company. We actually have a mill that makes all kinds of wood products. And so Jack, we're talking to him about his work experience and when he's going to start out. And he says to me, Mom, I don't want to work for Dad. I want to work for you. I was like, sorry, buddy, no nepotism. You can't work at StoneAge until I'm gone. So yeah, your best bet is to go work for your dad.
Excellent. And as we discussed, you have many, many years left in your working years. But
exactly.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your leadership journey? So 17 years ago-ish, you moved back to Durango. You saw this opportunity. You stepped into a role. Now, 17 years later, a finalist for Entrepreneur of the Year, doing great things. What was that 17 years like? And maybe to distill it into, what are some kind of key takeaways for you that you learned along the way?
Sure. So my mom said I came out of the womb being the CEO of the family. So I've always been a leader. I would say that my leadership style is very much a boundary pushing, disruptive. I have this big vision that I have for myself, for my company, and that drives a lot of what I want to do, wanting to make this significant impact in the world. And I've always been like that. So I was a leader long before coming to StoneAge. But it didn't always show up in really healthy ways, which is not unusual, when you're in your teens and your 20s. So I've done a lot of forgiveness around the stupid things I did in my 20s. But really coming to StoneAge and coming into a leadership position, running an entire company when I had never done that before, I had to really lean into curiosity and humility. There was no way that I was going to come in here and tell people who had been working for the company 10, 15, 20, 25 years, who had deep industry knowledge, how to do something better. I didn't have that credibility. I didn't have the experience. And so I just really leaned into, I'm going to learn from these amazing people. And one of my superpowers is the ability to ask really good questions. I didn't understand that really at the time, but I would just ask, like, what do you think? How do you think that we should do this? What are your ideas to fix this solution? And so we really in those early years, we partnered together, kind of like this coaching, coaching relationship, and really me learning. And so that was the start of this leadership journey of knowing that others can absolutely provide great ideas, great advice. They can solve all the problems. I didn't have to be that person to figure everything out. And that if I surrounded myself with really smart people, that we would all be more successful. And so that's kind of how I got to where I am. And I always ask a lot of questions, and I always surround myself with really smart people. And then I pull on my vision for the future and my ability to see what the future is going to look like and inspire action as my strength that I bring to the team, and then build a team filled with people who can really use their skills and their talents to help us build this really great company. So that's kind of how I got to where I am today. It's just a lot of mistakes and trying new things, and not being afraid to take some risks, and not being afraid to surround myself with people who had deep experience and who were really smart.
Absolutely. And I will correct myself. You were Entrepreneur of the Year, but finalist for CEO of the Year. So just to
I think it was the other way around. I was a national finalist for EY's Entrepreneur of the Year, and then CEO of the Year for Colorado this past year. So yeah, to think about where I came from 17 years ago, I did a lot of reflecting. I was like, wow, this has been such a wild ride, and just filled with lots of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of wins with this really fantastic team that we've built here at StoneAge.
Well, one of the things you talked about the no nepotism policy. Yeah. You talked about coming in new, fresh, not wanting to kind of assert in your sense that, hey, there's a lot I have to learn about this. Right. And I know something that's really important to you is that ownership mentality, having other people own this piece. And I know when I talk to CEOs, in our strategy consulting practice, the ideal is CEOs that are able to do the CEO stuff. The challenge with that is that it takes a tremendous amount of trust, and you actually have to get the hell out of the way. So what did you do, let's say maybe 10 years into it? You realized, hey, I really do need to empower these people, and I need to get out of the way. Well, what are some of the kind of processes you put in place? What are some of the systems that you set up to support other people doing their best work so that you could do your best work?
Yeah, definitely. And still in that process, as everybody grows and changes, it's constantly figuring out how to empower people, and how to be able to adapt as the company grows, and people change, and processes change. So it's always this continuous state of evolving, I would say. And so how I evolved over that. I mean, I think that those early days really did. It really did set me in the right framework, the right mindset for other people that we need all of us working together to be able to do a good job, to be able to solve problems for our customers. So I think that was a great foundation. But when I really started thinking about this ownership mindset, how do we teach people how to think and act like owners? I realized that the first thing that it came down to is trust. Right? If you don't trust your employees, if they don't trust you, then it's really going to be hard to give them that autonomy, to let them go out and try things, to change processes as you grow and develop. And so that was the thing that I really started with, is how do I build trust with the team? How do I earn their trust? How do I give my trust to them? And so that's where I got started. And that just took a little bit of time, right? Getting to know people, getting to know their strengths, their weaknesses, things like that. So
I was going to ask, how did you, because I know conceptually it's oh yeah, trust. Well, why didn't I think of that? But what did you do? What did you put in place to make sure that you were able to trust, and that others were able to trust each other?
So, I think I'm lucky that I have a very trusting personality. I think people who don't trust easily would think that I give trust away too easily. So part of it's my personality, is that I inherently believe that people are good. I inherently believe that people are going to do things with their very best intentions. So part of it's my style, is that I'm trusting. part of it is the way that our founders treated me when I first came on board, and they gave me a lot of autonomy to do my job. So I was able to put changes into place, even though the founders didn't necessarily see the value in it. They trusted me to handle big decisions and said, you know what, we've talked through this, and if it doesn't go the way that we want it to, then this is how we're going to go fix it. They made it safe to make mistakes. And I realized that that's how I grew so quickly. I mean, in less than 3 years from when I started, I was named CEO of the company. And it was because they gave me that autonomy. They gave me a little bit of rope. They knew that the only way I was going to be successful is that if they didn't protect me. And so I decided that I wanted to treat people the same way. So I set a clear vision for where we're going as a company, what the expectations were around whatever we were working on. And then I said, I trust you. I trust you to make the right decision. And I've got your back. If something goes wrong, then we will fix it together. And so I had to teach people how to trust their own thinking, trust their own decision making. And I had to come in and help people fix things when it didn't go right, just like the founders did with me. And so I was really kind of role modeling off of the environment that I was thriving in those early years. How do I recreate that for my own team? And that's hard, right? Making the decision that you're going to be okay if somebody makes a mistake, because that's how they learn and how they grow. Not everybody's comfortable with that, but I tell you, I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. You've learned so much from the mistakes that you've made in your life. Like, we don't go, oh, that went really well, I learned so much. No, we grow as human beings. We get more resilient. We understand that we can do hard things when we make mistakes, when we go, okay, I'm not going to do it that way again. And so that's how I started to build that trust with people on my team.
So it sounds like, and again, like I'm trying to get into the details a little bit more, but it sounds like one of the things that was successful for you was setting out that clear vision, like empowering conceptually, saying, hey, okay, you like run with this. If this is your department, if this is your job, if this is your thing, go, and then we will have some sort of follow up system or debrief system look over that.
Yeah. So weekly tags are a big one. You need to be checking in with people, and then you need to have some sort of a system. We don't run EOS here. We have our own kind of structure that we have. We call it our commitments process. But it's that way to be able to check in regularly. I think a lot of people either like delegate and then don't check back in, or they delegate and they try to control too much. So you need to have some sort of a system in place where you're regularly checking in on those commitments that are made. And then that way you can help course correct, or you can say, yes, that's great, keep doing more of that if you need to. So you definitely have to have that system in place as well. And that developed over time. It was much more rudimentary than what it is now, because we were a lot smaller company. As we got bigger, we had to put in more and more structure because you had more and more people in the decision-making process. So that evolves over time as well. But yes, I agree. You've got to have that system in place to have that accountability there.
Awesome. And just for context, how bigger is the company now?
But we're $75 million in revenue, about 200 and some employees.
Cool. Do you ever feel like there is, I know you're not necessarily manufacturing, but there's probably like office and, shop floor kind of folks. Do you ever feel like there is not necessarily a divide, but a difference in perspective between those folks? And then how do you align the entire company? Because it's a big organization, right? Yeah. You're taking on a lot of stuff. How do you ensure that, or how have you ensured that the company stays aligned despite having kind of different roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, I mean, I think people always divide themselves into groups. So we have, warehouse one versus headquarters, or headquarters versus branches, or concrete versus carpet, which is always annoying to me, because I think, like, why are we trying to figure out differences instead of coming together? But this is human nature, right? What we did to really pull people together, especially as we were growing quickly and looking at acquisitions, we needed to really define what our culture was. And part of that is being employee owned. What does it mean to be an owner here? And so about 10 years ago, we took the time to completely revamp our whole value system and our what it takes to be successful here, attributes, and we develop what we call the own it mindset. And this is in my book, The Ownership Mindset. And we really defined what success looks like and what our values are. And they're super simple. It's practice self-leadership, right? How you show up at leading yourself, be a great teammate, how you're working together with the whole, and then deliver on the StoneAge Assurance Promise, which is our promise to our customers to do everything that we can to make sure that they go home safely to their families every night. And clearly defining that and what success looks like for that, for the individual, the team, the company, and the broader industry really brought that all together. And so that's the framework that we use to keep everyone on the same page. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't hear multiple people talking about the own it mindset. And the interesting thing is the concept actually started in our shop. They were having issues with things not getting put away in the right places and tools that were missing, and the shop was a mess. And I actually went to the shop management team and said, you guys got to figure this out. This isn't effective. And they actually came up with the concept of own it. And it's morphed over time, but I'm so proud that the machine shop came up with this. And so people ask me, well, do your blue collar workers care about employee ownership? Do they really get it? I'm like, our whole value system stemmed from them. And I think that's a really cool thing that they did. They saw this big problem that they were having and they took that ownership to fix it. And so that's really how our organization works. But that's what ties us together is the own it mindset. And it's very clearly defined.
Awesome. So tell me about, just as we finish up, the book, The Ownership Mindset, came out in October, a handbook for transforming your life and leadership. What do you want our listeners to know about the book?
Yeah, so it literally is a handbook. So any problem that you have as a leader, you can open up a chapter and go get stories that will hopefully be relatable, and then actionable takeaways. So it's called put into practice, so that you can go, okay, here are 3 things that I can do right now to help me address this problem. It's part memoir because I do have this crazy story of bouncing back from substance abuse issues to building this really great company. So it's this part memoir, part leadership book, part how to build this really great culture, all combined into one. And so I think it's really helpful for any manager or leader who's looking to build a great team and a great company, a great culture, and looking for some stories of, like, this is what's a behind the scenes look at figuring out how to be a CEO when you're 30 years old and have no idea what you're doing.
That's awesome. Well, it sounds like a heck of a journey. Congratulations on everything you've been able to accomplish so far. Congratulations on the book, and congratulations to wherever your son goes in his career, despite the fact that he won't be able to work with mom. Where can people learn more about the work that you're doing? Where can they connect with you?
Yes, so you can go to my website, kerrysiggins.com. That has everything there. And then the best way to connect with me is outside of my website is through LinkedIn, and that's at Kerry Siggins. So please reach out. I'm always happy to connect and chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kerry. It's been a pleasure chatting. And like I said, nothing but the best moving forward.
Thank you, Anthony. I really appreciate that.
Folks, my guest today, Kerry Siggins, who is the CEO at StoneAge. One of the things that I heard is, in this journey of being a CEO, being able to put trust in place, but not just trust to trust from a perspective of, hey, this is your side of the street. You take care of it, and I'm going to trust that you're doing that so long as you have, the right ownership, the right mindset. And if you can do that, that's really what it takes to build a fast and successful and impactful company. So, folks, I encourage you to see how you can empower people, support them in owning whatever's important to them, and then you can buy them a copy of a book, and then they can own that. Thanks so much again, Kerry, for joining me, folks. This has been the Strategy and Leadership Podcast. My name is Anthony Taylor. I'll see you next time.